during your panel discussion, you can actually ask them. Because it was going to be weird. And everybody's going to be like waiting for it. We had a presentation. Okay, so before my support team join me, I would like to take 2 minutes to tell you what I do. Like I said, I chanced to know about blockchain about 4 years ago when I was doing one business. And then I went for a conference in Dubai, and I was amazed. I was blown out. So there, I started picking my interest, and I found a book called The Seventh Disruption, The Rise and Fall of Digital Currency. I read that book, and then I decided that this time around, Africa cannot get it wrong. We played laggard on when internet started. I remember very well some people in Africa were praying against internet, that internet was kind of devil something. And so we Africans, we played the late role, but today we all know internet has played major role in our economy. The same way when e-commerce started, I remember in 1995 when Amazon actually kick-started, people didn't actually see it as a business model, especially in Africa. But today, happily, we have Jumia, Konga, and Co. And then social media started. That one, I was much more adult. I was in secondary school when Facebook started in 2004. My first year in the university, my first business lecturer asked a question: how many of you have Facebook accounts? And people raised their hands, and the man was, you guys are bad boys. If you continue to use social media and you finish school, you cannot get a job. Why? Because they will go back to your history and check if you are in social media and doing stuff. So that kind of mindset kind of gave me a certain, awkward understanding of the future. So I did not have any social media account until 2010. That's how poor some mindset can do. But we lost it out. Today, Facebook, for example, do not have any user in China because they don't have access in China. China has their own brand that they use. But Facebook major revenue source is Africa. Africa is most diverse, most active continent with an average age of 19. 60% of the population of Africa is young people. And we all know those who consume technology. We all know those who consume Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat on our continent. So when I saw blockchain and I got to know about blockchain, I asked myself a question: are we going to sit back and be consumers yet again on this era? Because I think blockchain has more use cases and more solutions to provide Africa than America. Because the Americans have solved more than 90% of their problems. China and Asia, Singapore, Malaysia, Korea, Japan, they've solved most of their problems. We still have more than 90% of problems in Africa that we've not solved in terms of governance, health, education, finance, especially financial inclusion. According to IMF reports, about 60% of Africans, almost 60%, do not have access to banking accounts. So the question is, if blockchain provide a tool as a decentralized platform to send value, then Africa has opportunity to actually take advantage and solve most of our unsolved, unresolved problems in Africa. So therefore, we need to take action. So I started a new thinking, a new conversation that this time is Africa. This time around, let's go on a table and bargain on position of strength and value. We cannot sit back to continue to be consumers on technical advancement. So I started Copytex. But I said most African projects in companies died with the founder because it's about ego, it's about I'm trying to prove a point. Whereas I know the future holds more prominence with collaboration. It's not about competition, it's about collaboration. So with that understanding, I co-founded it with one guy from Angola and one guy from Nigeria. And today, Cubitex, after 1 year, we've successfully built most advanced blockchain digital asset exchange, which is live, which our native token is used today in Nigeria today to pay for airtime bill, electricity, GSTV, and other airtime flight ticket and what have you. Over 3,000 merchants can use our token called KBS on our app to pay for all these things. Started by Africans for the world. This time around, we think that the world will be better for young people in Africa to take active role on this blockchain. So for me, this particular discussion is very important. So if you're a young man here, young person here, and you are thinking of, oh, government is supposed to do this, you don't need to wait for the government to do A or B. There's no society that was developed by politicians. Every society that was developed by business-minded people, entrepreneurs, creators, innovators. And we cannot sit back for government to be ready before we take role. Let's start, like Ali Baba would say, in China, we solve the problem first before we take off regulation. So in Africa too, the conversation should be, let's solve the problem before we now present the regulatory portion of it. So my challenge to you, the audience, is today I'm excited that Uganda, Kenya, Rwanda, even Nigeria, people are doing amazing stuff when it comes to the blockchain. And Africa is positioning themselves not to be just consumers, but active role on the chain of producers, on the chain of creators, on the chain of innovators. So we all win together as a global economy. So with me here this afternoon, one lady. There was a lady who was supposed to join us. Okay, so I think these two gentlemen will do the job for us. I'm a straight person. I'm not too much of a communicator. I do more than talking. So Lucas, right? Lucas. Israel. So in 3 minutes, tell us, what do you know about mining and exchanges? How do they interplay? What is the role of mining and how do we link it to exchange as far as blockchain derivative assets are concerned?
Do you want me to talk about mining cryptocurrency? Because we have a mining company, but it's a real mining company.
Yeah, mining digital assets on the blockchain. So here is mining, exchange, ICOs, and STOs. So I want you to tell us, we don't know what's mining. Tell us what mining are and how do you relate it with exchange and how do they interplay in today's digital economy.
Okay, one of the most exciting things about blockchain and cryptocurrencies is that it's a decentralized money. So it means that it's not centralized in one place. It needs the community. And right now, all the technology is going that way. All the social media are kind of working that way. For example, Uber, Airbnb, all the applications that are working now the success is based on a community. Probably the most powerful thing about Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies and blockchain is that it's decentralized. So miners, people who are usually compared with the police people. In our society, we have police people that they help the community or they control that the community is doing the right thing, right? They help the community to go good. So that's pretty much what miners do technologically in the blockchain environment. They basically verify transactions. They put their hashing power to really help that everything is working. I heard about cryptocurrencies in 2011, and something that really impacted me, it was that it wasn't controlled by anyone. A lot of people can say, hey, it's impossible. I mean, how can this work if nobody's controlling, nobody's dominating this technology? Basically, miners or decentralized technology is pretty much the key to make it happen. So miners are pretty much computers. There's people behind the computers, but our computers they're controlling the financial transaction, and definitely they're interacting with the exchanges, like currency exchange, same as you can find it today. For example, I'm coming from Europe. When I came here, first thing I had to do to transmit or transact my value, it was to go to the currency exchange, right? I had to change my currency for the local currency. Well, digitally, we need the same figure. We need the currency exchange. That's the figure of exchangers. Exchangers are pretty much entities that they usually exchange cryptocurrencies, and many times, on many of them, they even change the cryptocurrencies for fiat currency. So if you want to change your local currency and convert them into cryptocurrencies, you have to find an exchange.
So agree and solve mathematical solutions, and after solving, become assets of value, and that can be transmitted on a blockchain, which is not a central pool, but millions of computers across the world. That no one single person can take advantage of or change. In summary, that's right. Correct. And then is perform more or less like the forest market, so to speak. But this time around, it's not only limited to those who have certification or license. Anybody anywhere in the world can have an account on an exchange and study, basically, which is made available by the blockchain. Before now, if you want to trade on any stock market, you need to have a broker, go through all the bureaucracies, and it's only limited to few people. But the blockchain, through the exchanges, are transforming this thing and then giving back to the people. In summary, I say the blockchain is actually better in a more advanced stage, where we don't need approval from anybody, but we can actually transmit and exchange value. That's my basic explanation. So I think there's now power to the people, and which is more powerful, where one person controls of the world. So I think we have a future, and it's not a matter of if anymore. It's when you decide to take advantage of it, and let's all spread wealth organically. Mr. Henry, we've heard a lot about ICOs this year. Late last year and this year, people are now talking of STOs. They are all buzzwords, big words. So I want you to break it down. In 2017, there was a rise of ICOs, and 80%, according to research I found, I know where people invested so much money. So it has created a certain phobia, a certain myopic view about the blockchain. So most people, especially governments in Africa, most governments, especially I'll use two countries, Ghana and Nigeria, for example. I'll use Nigeria case as a case study. In 2016-17, there was this popular Ponzi scheme called MMM. It killed society. People were suffocated. Why? A lot of people in Nigeria got to know about Bitcoin or blockchain through MMM. So the moment it died, the whole narrative changed. So if you mention blockchain, that Ponzi scheme, I'm not interested. So people lost the desire to knowing more about the blockchain as a solution, and then linked it to MMM, being a Ponzi scheme. I want you to help us to dilute and then diffuse that notion, what STOs are, what ICOs are, and link it back to exchange again.
Okay, first of all, my name is Andrew Kibedi. There's a typo in the program. It says Henrik. I'm not Henrik. I'm Andrew. I'm not working for Abu Dhabi investment firm. I come from a company called Core IT, and I'm going to try to give a short answer. ICOs is what we call an unregulated market. It was a way to fundraise different projects. One of the most famous ones is Bitcoin. And then you have Ethereum, etc. And people will use ICOs because it was unregulated, or it's still unregulated. The worst cases I've heard was even owners saying that I want to buy a car and I want to go to Monte Carlo, blah, blah, blah. And this person who said that raised $600,000. So it's not a Ponzi scheme. At least he was honest. So that's the problem with ICOs. It's unregulated. People use it for crowdfunding, etc. Now, the difference with the STOs, which is now on a what we call an exponential curve, is that it's regulated by government. In the US, it's SEC, Security and Exchange Commission, who regulates it. That means it's easier for when you're raising capital. You can use STOs to raise capital within shares. Also, using as that token that you're using to buy shares, medical insurance, it doesn't really matter. But it's regulated by government. Back to the ICOs again. People talk about blockchain, people talk about Bitcoin, etc. We say we want to be decentralized. This is the funny part. Every time that thing goes wrong, people run to government police, who we have a complaint. I lost $200,000, $1 million, because I invested in this ICO. Good thing with STO, guess what? People are coming back to government. Please help us. If something goes wrong, we can actually get help. Now, I'll give you a practical example. I am launching with a local organization or company called Uganda Protestant Medical Bureau, UPMB. It's governed by the Protestant Church. Through them, we are launching now a token, which is a utility token. It's going to be a UPMB token, which is an STO. What happens is that and there's an underlying insurance company here. So that means that any Ugandan who is a Protestant, so of course, if you're Catholic or Muslim, you're welcome to use the hospital facilities, because there are over 300 facilities around Uganda as an operator. So we are launching this STO, who's going to be called, you cannot figure out the name yet, but basically it is that any Ugandan who is a Protestant or wants to use the UPMB facilities, I'm not going to say the date, has to buy into that STO. And that STO gives you a guarantee for any services that those hospitals or clinics are going to use. You cannot speculate in it. The reason why we want the UPMB wanted this is that to take away corruption within medicine. Everybody's probably seen this movie now, Stealing from the Poor. Is the buzz thing that goes, being on BBC, you can find it on YouTube. Yeah, I'm not sure I'm going to say if you have more follow-up questions.
Okay. Yeah, thank you so much. I want this session to be very interactive. So I want to go back to the audience so that we can have more engaging discussion. So the mic, I'll come back. So let's make it interactive. What do you understand about this discussion that we're having? Exchange mining, STOs, ICOs. What are your practical experience, and what do you think are some of the solutions you have applied? Because charity, they say, begins at home. We cannot have global adoption without the needed incentive, needed education, needed awareness to actually know the buzzwords, the myth, and the reality, and how we can now associate it with everyday life. Is that everyday life that matters? Like I always say, technology itself is nothing if there's no use cases for it. If people are not ready to adapt it, that technology is as useless as there's anything. So how do we now make it available to our daily life society that we are in, and linked it to our global economy, where we are now thinking of tokenized economy, where everything will be token on the blockchain? So I want to see Hans. Okay, already. Your name, what do you do, and then go straight to your point.
Okay, thank you. My name is Abel Namureva. I do OTC transactions of cryptocurrency in town, Kampala. And my question is, you've spoken about decentralization of the coins, and I understand that Bitcoin is decentralized, no owner blockchain. We're looking now, when you look at a currency like Ethereum, it's owned by Vitalik. Yeah? So I get that blockchain is decentralized, but Vitalik owns Ethereum, and I feel like that's already ownership coin. So doesn't that make a currency like Ethereum centralize a currency like repo, which has an owner, centralized, Binance, centralized. Thank you.
Well, actually my issue was STOs, but I don't know if you want to answer. I can answer.
You could answer.
Okay, my answer for that is decentralization. I think this is philosophy, but I think it's pretty good. But in some points, as my friend was saying, yeah, people need some type of centralization because many times, it's difficult to really control a community because you don't know what they're doing. So it's very difficult to really control finances. For example, in the case of Bitcoins, technically, we have to say that it's decentralized. But honestly, to be honest, we cannot control because it's decentralized, right? That so many people buy a huge amount or a huge volume of bitcoins. For example, we know as a fact that mostly the bitcoins are held in China, right? So technically, it's decentralized, but people can control the market. People can control a couple of things. So that doesn't mean that the technology is centralized. Okay, so there's different type of technologies. You have a proof of work, proof of stake, different type of coins. So I think, in my opinion, the world is going to the decentralization. That's the concept. But they need to have a cable to ground. I mean, we need to have some points, some places where, or some technologies to centralize the decentralization. I don't know if it makes sense for you, but it's important for security. It's important to conserve the regulations. It's important to for everybody because it's if not if we don't have any rule, it's going to be complicated to keep going with the cryptocurrencies because we're going to generate bad name, bad reputation. Because everything is going with no control. I don't know if I answered your question. Yeah.
Yeah, I can have a follow-up again. We have a live user case now, or actually it's going to be starting at end of July. We could have not, we said, no, when we talk about blockchain, we said information is owned by everybody and nobody. The problem is that the challenge with some of these cryptocurrencies, because it's decentralized, as I was saying a couple of minutes ago, is that if something happens, go wrong, my friend Ian is upstairs talking about which currency we should invest in. He lost almost $3 million last year or the year before. I bet you he wished he could go to the police and say, can I retrieve my $3 million in Bitcoin? So it's a good and bad thing, but when you say we don't want to have it centralized, but we want to decentralize, but at one point we would like to go to the police if something goes wrong or the authorities.
Yeah. Okay.
Then,
Your name, what you do, and straight to your point.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is the Crypto Preacher. I'm a researcher with the blockchain organization in Nigeria. I'm an OTC person too in Lagos. I observe in the few years I've been in crypto world that most of our digital assets, after we've gotten it from them and given them fiat, we send them back to either the Chinese, which in turn pay us again. It goes on and on. I don't think it is supposed to be like that since Africa is growing. So I'm thinking if the institutions here in Africa can help where shops can collect and crypto and values will be exchanged. I don't know how that can be possible. But again, I think the question I want to ask again is if the cryptocurrencies that are being developed is being monitored by government, what is the essence of a decentralized system? Because it's being controlled by government. Thank you.
I can answer that question quickly. Again, we have a live thing, a live concept going in end of this month. The currency developed, which is a utility token. We made a choice to build trust back into, call it cryptocurrency, but I won't call it a token, is that we also now have hooked up with one of the biggest banks in East Africa. I'm not allowed to tell who it is because they're on the stock exchange, so the people who start buying stocks now. But that was mainly also to make secure for the general public because we're talking about health. And poor people are going to buy tokens, and at least they have a brand name that if it happens, at least they are a place to go to. So but we easily have done it by ourselves, but of course we're still going to use exchange like Binance, etc. But the difficulty is like now, like we're going to see now in buying normal stocks. It used to be only Nasdaq or the Dow Jones, but now it's like it's 100 brokers, stock exchanges in the US. But the first one was like that. We have to go the other way. There's so many of them that we need to go. Who is actually serious? It doesn't matter if it's in Nigeria, Uganda, or in China.
Okay, let me add one more thing. I think it's important to understand something. For example, answering both questions, I'm going to use the Uber example. I think it's a very good example. Uber technically is a centralized platform because you have a company that is technically controlling that everything is going good. But you're not calling a company to get a taxi or to get a transportation, right? So it's a decentralized, centralized company, and it works perfectly. Why? Because people want to interact with a chauffeur or somebody who drives the car, right? It makes sense. It's decentralized. You can find somebody in the area that can pick you up. That's in that term. If we see it from that angle, that's decentralized, right? You're not going to an office. You are just using an application to find the driver that is close to you. But there is somebody behind that's helping, negotiating the insurances, taking care of the issues, managing the IT, managing the platform. So I think this is a model that is being repeated in different places. Airbnb, different companies, different applications are working this way. We have found in the cryptocurrency industry that we need something or a model like that. We need to have the ability to move to transact, to generate fundraising, STOs, ICOs, but we need like a regulator, or we need somebody. I'm putting STOs. I feel like we need to regulate. We need a regulator. We need the decentralization, but we need somebody to take care of the users, of the investors and people that are using cryptocurrency. So it's a decentralized centralization. It's kind of weird, but it makes sense in examples like Uber or Airbnb and other companies.
Thank you. Just to add a bit, a society that is not regulated, there will be chaos. So blockchain enthusiasts, users, cryptocurrency lovers, we should not think we are island. No society can be self-regulated. So one or the other, we should bear in mind that government involvement is key. Because the society is governed with rules and regulations. Crypto operates in a vacuum. One of the major challenges of every crypto operator, both exchanges like we are facing today, OTC people, miners, is how to get physical. Of course, whether you like it or not, cash is still king. It will take much more longer time for us to have a total cashless society. We still have many people with cultural differences. They don't even want to understand what technology is. And you cannot have everybody adopting technology like that. So we still have a challenge how to marry these two. So my position is this, and this is what we have done successfully with Kubites. We believe you cannot give people new thing all of a sudden. Let them continue to use what they are familiar with, and then begin to introduce something that's more convenient. So they will do comparison, and out of convenience, benefit that they get, they can now make a choice whether to switch completely to the new one, or we can use both hands. But my point is that regulation is key. But government cannot regulate something that they don't understand. So government, be flexible. Let this start. Let it use it start. The solution comes, and then use the solutions, and then prefer regulation that can match the use cases. Because if someone has to use it, you will not make a mistake. It's a mistake that will not create a solution of country. So let's have that at the back of our mind that we cannot be self-governance. It cannot be possible in this. No matter how great it comes, we still need certain kind of regulation in place to make people comfortable. Yes.
Okay. Tumwekwas Barnabas are my names.
Where's the mic?
I'm here.
Okay.
Barnabas Tumwekwas are my names. I'm a fund manager of PrimeFin and a crypto trader. It's true that we need a regulator, and that is the major challenge in Uganda that we are facing, because even the BOU is trying to figure out how to regulate us. Now, the question goes back to taxation being a an accountant at the same time. In your countries, how do you handle the issue of crypto trading in relation to accounting, whereby income is not determined, like in those countries where the activity is not recognized? How do you handle it?
I can pick any country. It's a headache for most people, most exchequers or the tax man has a headache with that, because most of those people trade trade on crypto. They don't necessarily want to report it to the tax man. So that is a universal problem. That's one of the reasons why drug dealers love cryptocurrency, because you can do this anonymously, etc. So is one of those places. We could tell the man who had Silk crores now spending a lifetime in jail because he didn't want to expose the ones who were sitting behind the accounts. So again, as long as you don't want to be regulated, any auditor, any company who's definitely who's not on STOs would have a problem, and that's the reason why we're linking up with a bank here in East Africa, because we want to be transparent with those transactions. Because an old woman in the bush in Arua, if that person is putting in 10,000 shillings, we have to be accounted for that. And that's what UPMB or the Protestant Church is also very interesting. So that's also we walked away from mining as a technical issue, but also we want to be open, because also STOs are linked to the Security Exchange Commission in the US.
Well,
Okay.
I mean, to pay taxes, it's many times it bothers you, but it's necessary. I mean, the society is the way it is for some reason. Somebody, I mean, tried a different way, and we talked about regulations. One of the regulations we need taxes. We need really, if we want the blockchain and the cryptocurrencies to really explode in the world, because it's the right technology, we need to understand that at some point we want to need to reconciliate the real financial world and the government with the cryptocurrency. We cannot use the cryptocurrency just to do whatever we want. I'm not saying that I'm not answering the question, but the point is, where I want to go is, for example, there are countries that they consider cryptocurrencies a value, like United States. They consider it a currency. If it's a currency, it represents value, then definitely you have to pay taxes. It's regulated, okay? There are other places that definitely is not regulated. If it's not regulated, it's a digital asset. It's like having an application, a game, and you have coins because you do some type of activity and you're getting coins, and you don't have to pay taxes for those coins on a game. You understand? The problem here is that right now there is a huge volume of value that is being transacted in all over the world. So for our security, that's my opinion, for our security, we should go to the regular. We should try to regulate it all over the world, because that's good for us. If not, as my friend said, there's be a lot of transactions involving drug dealing, different type of, I'm not going to mention all of this, but different type of activities that actually they damage our society. So answering the question, depending on the country, if they consider it a currency or they consider just that it's a digital asset, you're going to need to declare, you're going to need to do your taxes. But we should fight as community to have to really avoid relating blockchain to illegal activities. We have to use this amazing technology for legal activities. We can change the world and use this technology conveniently.
Last but
Yep. I
okay.
got the mic.
Last question. This session, they will come here and then we will close. Okay.
Okay. Called Chancemil Remo, a developer with NSSF. My first question goes to, how do you handle speculations with this decentralization? Because in most markets, like, what drives value is speculation. Then two, if we compare bubble of technology to the introduction of cloud, there were instances whereby initially people thought cloud had to be owned by a particular set of people or government or companies, but later on it happened that you could own your own clouds and create your own clouds. So in the same instance of blockchain, is it possible for people or individuals to have their own blockchain environments? Because why I ask this is, how do we get anonymity when you decide to have your own blockchain?
I can answer quickly. It's interesting. You are NSSF, eh?
Yep.
Okay. This is interesting because I had a question to actually NSSF to onboard in this project I'm doing with UPMB, Uganda Process Medical Bureau. That is involving about 20 million Ugandans. Somehow you guys said no. So you're almost becoming actually a competitor. Or I mean, the processing is just becoming a competitor. So, again, is trust. The problem with blockchain or crypto, I'm trying to answer your question, the trust somehow is a little bit broken. Huh? Depending who you're dealing with. And this is why that's why STOs now are much more popular than the ICOs. Because on the ICO platforms, you find anything because it's not regulated. So for the cloud thing, yes, everyone can have a personal cloud. But again, that's why we linked up with a bank that has a name that you actually can trust. Because I can open up a bank and let's say 24 hours, I can start actually a bank. I don't have to come up with a cool, catchy name, but still Barclays Bank sounds a little bit better. UBS sounds a little bit better than calling it Andrew Kibedi. Andrew Kibedi. Get me? I'm not sure I'm answering your question.
Okay, so on the spec, this is how you look at it. Even the stock market, which is much more regulated and a old industry or financial market, so people speculate. You cannot stop it. But with the cryptocurrency, the maturity is not there. People are still operating with hype and panic. And there's more fear. Why? Because it's not regulated. So one single news can break the market in seconds. So until they get too much short, what people can trust. So if you hear that, oh, one exchange CEO died, and we cannot find the password, it will generate panic reaction. So we need to have more mature economy. Adoption should have to increase. It is your duty and my duty to educate more people, to let them know that this thing is going nowhere. It's a matter of time, not if. So in terms of speculation, it's demand and supply. So that will continue to be. But as it matures more, I believe the incidence of speculation and rise and fall, like for example, the last 24 hours, Bitcoin was almost down. The last 24 hours, it has gone to almost 11,000. In the next 2 hours, it can go to 8,000. There's so much panic. So we all have to build the ecosystem so that it can be more matured and people have more trust and confidence in the new system that we're trying to build. That's the area we all have to push to get to. Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. I'm Bright Besige from the Financial Intelligence Authority. I think one of the challenges, many of our panelists have talked about regulation. And I think one of the challenges that has been happening here is many of our people are not able to distinguish between Ponzi, pyramid schemes, and maybe real virtual service providers, asset service providers. So many times when one is cheated, the first place you run to is maybe the Bank of Uganda, the police, and the FIA. And we find the challenge because many of the dealers in these virtual assets do not want regulation. And without regulation, the Financial Action Task Force, the FATF, recently passed recommendations guiding countries on how to deal with virtual assets and virtual asset service providers. So these are global norms that require countries to supervise, monitor, for purposes of the money launderers and other criminals that use the anonymity provided by these platforms platforms, good as are, for example, finance their activities, how fast can we move, or how faster can government and those who are in regulation move to help to contain some of these evils that could emanate from crypto and other virtual assets?
Okay. I'm going to try to answer that question very simply and quickly because of time. I personally don't speculate in cryptocurrency. One, because it doesn't give me anything. As the Prime Minister of Singapore after the crash of 2008, there's a movie called Inside Job. He said that when people start thinking you can create money out of nothing, it becomes dangerous. And this is where we get this, where everybody who's already is crypto. Because people ask me, what should invest in? If you ask Ian, Bolina, everybody in the room, I'm betting is getting 1,000 questions on which cryptocurrency we should invest in. We have a movement about, I'm using, then I rediscovered what I can do actually with crypto. That's where STOs comes in. You have to understand that cryptocurrency or token, I'll use the word token, is not necessarily. I want to remove the people who are speculating it. In this country, it was a phase last year, the year before, called OneCoin. Who invested in OneCoin? At least one. Nobody had two. That was a Ponzi scheme made by a partner from McKinsey, American firm that went out and did this thing called OneCoin. Had nothing to do with cryptocurrency. Of course, then the government gets skeptical because they don't really know what is. And that's why we are taking to convince the government with UPMB in this case. We said this is not dangerous. The customer is actually buying a crypto, but they don't really know it. And normally I say to people, if you have a digital watch, you don't really care what battery is in that watch. You're just caring about is it time or not. You get me? So, going back, how do you get people to buy into it? People are not going to buy it. They're not really interested. What's the generating? How I'm moving money back and forth? Services and STOs. You can just link a lot of services to those coins, which you cannot do with ICOs. And the general public doesn't have to know.
Israel? I think the best way to control fraud and these type of things is education. I mean, don't forget we are people. Business is done by people, and people always find a way to do the wrong things. It's not blockchain, it's not technology, it's in every aspect of life. So how do we manage this? Simple. We learn from experience, and then we start educating people. Again, we're talking about STOs. What is an STO, and why is that important? It's because the industry by itself is finding their own way, decentralized way to ask for solutions. What is the solution? I know we wanted a decentralized currency or a decentralized transaction of value. That's what we wanted. But now we want this, but we need some rules. You know, we learned, remember, that this is very new. We're talking about a country that was born in 2000, the final 2008. So we cannot learn it. So it's impossible for us. And if somebody tells you that it's under control and everybody can make the difference between a Ponzi scheme and a real business, it's not easy. I'm an expert in this. I've been in the industry for years, and many times it's even complicated for me. You have to see so many variables. So in here is, I think the solution is education. Answering the question, how long are we going to be able to adapt? The speed is going to depend on the education we have. This type of formations and speeches really help us to really understand. We should have as community, not even as business, as community, we should have different type of videos, events to really teach people how things are going. There are a lot of people that they're gonna transact today, and they're gonna go to use crypto today, and they don't even know that there is something coming up that is STO. They're going to invest in ICOs. One number that you're going to like. 97 of the ICOs were fraud. Not Ponzi schemes, because there's different type of ICOs. You don't need you can just have an idea, and maybe the idea doesn't work. 97% of the money that it was investing in ICO was pretty much wasted. So not all of them were fraud. So we need to learn. Definitely we need events and we need education. That would be my solution.
Okay. Yes. We are running very fast. Our time is almost up. I will allow just 2 more questions, and then we are done. So, where is the mic? No, you please.
Just one.
Please. No, give to somebody, please. You've already spoken.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Ove from Satoshi Consultants. We do OTC trading in Bitcoin. My question is about centralization. So now, if the risk of centralization, this system can be shut down by government anytime. And we have seen this here, where government has put Facebook, social media down. So we have to, as me, like Bitcoin is decentralized. Even the US government cannot shoot it down. And you have talked about like Uber. Uber was also centralized. Government also can put it down anytime. I'm not against KYC. KYC can be done, and the government, not the people who use those systems, but government should not have the entire control on all the systems. Thank you.
Well, this is, again, it's philosophy. I mean, we have 2 philosophy, but this is, well, we have to understand that this is happening in everywhere. I'm a businessman. I've been doing digital business for years. For example, let me use a different example for you to understand. Regarding to music. Some years ago, we had a problem with the music. What was the music? That somebody had the idea that you can download music. When you create a way to communicate internet, right? And you can share files, why not sharing music, sharing video, sharing movies? And what was the problem? It was internet. It was decentralized. So everybody had access. So the industry by itself, again, as cryptocurrencies, ask for regulations, because at some point we realized that we want the world, philosophy, we want a world decentralized, nobody control me. But when you have a world without control, then you have to pay the price. The price of a world without control is that bad people are going to use those tools, It's like weapons. I mean, people will use it for the bad. So at some point we need to have a balance. Music, for example, now have a balance. All the guys were killing the market in the internet, selling licenses to get movies for free. The whole industry was in shock. What happened to that industry? They came out with subscription. Now you can have Spotify, Apple Music. You pay a little money every month, and you get all the music you want. Those guys were killed. So we have to find a point in the middle. That's my answer. I agree that there is something powerful of centralization. I mean, I use it all the time. I move my currencies. I do a lot of stuff with my currencies. I use it, and it's good. I don't want to lose that. But at some point, remember the number I gave 5 minutes ago. 97% of the ICOs were fraud. At some point, we have to control. So I think it's not the crazy world, decentralized, nobody controlling. We don't want that too. And we don't want, of course, a bureaucratic world where you cannot move, controlled by government. I understand what you mean. So I think we have to find a point in the middle. But this is philosophy. I guess, and that's my expectation, I don't know what you guys think, the industry by itself, like always, people are smarter than we think. We will find a way. We're finding the way. For example, STOs, for me, is a perfect concept because it's a way to really control or regulate a little bit, a little part of the industry. It's not the full solution. We need more stuff, but we're finding the way. So we need it in the middle.
Thank you very much, Israel, and thank you very much, Henrik. In summary, society cannot operate in vacuum. For crypto and blockchain to actually have a place in this global economy we are all anticipating to have, there should be in fact, you will be more comfortable if it's regulated. When society hear that government is involved, they'll be more, open to actually participate. Chance shop on a medium of exchange. So we should have in our mind that blockchain will provide us with transparency. So government everywhere, especially in Africa, that where we know we pay so much taxes, but majority of it goes over the board. They can actually, and we need to think of solution. How can we create a tax system on a blockchain to help government to even collect more taxes, where you can actually monitor how government use your tax for? This is what we have to push the government. You can actually make more if you use the blockchain, and we all must begin to find solutions that we can create on top of the blockchain to help government in collecting taxes. When they see that they can actually make money from blockchain and get taxes, I get you, they open the doors and we can all enjoy it. So we are living here and we need to give thanks to blockchain Savannah, Crypto Savannah. Let's push this conversation. It just started, it's not an event, it's a process. Let's keep on pushing with dedication and awareness. And I believe in 5-10 years from now, there'll be a global adoption and everybody will be happy to participate. Thank you very much. And we look forward to meeting you again. Thank you.
Special thank you for this session on mining, exchanges, ICOs, and STOs. Thank you very, very much. I know all the various sessions are now over and everybody's filing into this hall. We're going to start shortly with the next part of the program. But at this juncture, we're going to allow you to perhaps get an opportunity to visit the washrooms if you need to in the next 5 minutes or so. Just 5 minutes as we prepare for our guests from the UAE. We're going to kindly ask the Kampala Serena Hotel to kindly get the necessary protocol seating ready. And it's going to request, I'm going to ask you kindly, we'll move to you and sit you in the right places, please, for protocol purposes. The Minister of State for Artificial Intelligence from the United Arab Emirates is here, and is here with his delegation. So as the last session for the blockchain conference, we're going to just make sure that you're seated appropriately. Then we shall commence. That will, of course, be, that will take just around about 10 minutes or so. So if one of our ushers comes up to you and asks you kindly to move, kindly oblige as we prepare for that part of the program. I'm kindly requesting for the organizers from Kampala Serena Hotel, please, to kindly get the proper seating here. The VIP seating, which will be here, where the Honorable Minister shall be sitting, please.